Welcome to Did You Know with Richard Utley. During this 1 hour program, join us as we take a look at today's headline news, Richard's views, history, inspirational interviews, and much more. Did you know this program airs every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube? Here's Richard now. Sit back and enjoy today's featured presentation.
Good morning, and welcome to another Did You Know? Well, the first thing I'm going to say, especially those of you who live in Pennsylvania, I do know that some of you listen to my podcast in other cities and other states. But those of you who live in Pennsylvania, today is election day. Today is primary election day. So that means it's a primary, and those who win today will be in the general election in November. So if you care for a candidate, or if you like a candidate, if you support a candidate, and then you need to go vote for them. I do understand Pennsylvania is very different. If you're a Democrat, you can vote for a Democrat. If you're a registered Republican, you can vote registered Republican. And if you're independent, shame on you in Pennsylvania, because you really don't have no influence. Now, in the general election, you can vote for who you want. But in Pennsylvania, if you're independent, you can't vote for the governor or lieutenant governor. You can't vote for those things. You have to wait to the general election. So if you really want to have some influence, you probably should register as a D or R. That doesn't mean you can still be independent. You don't have to tell nobody that. I agree. Pennsylvania should be for whoever you want. So independents should be able to vote for who they want in a primary. But unfortunately, Pennsylvania is not that kind of way. So those of you, get out to vote, because I want you to start practicing getting out to vote, because November is going to be very important. And you've heard so much about the midterm elections coming up. It's going to be really important. So I think we need to start to get in the practice of going to vote, registering to vote, and also do our research. And what I mean by my research is this. If they support what you believe in and they're going to do the right thing, then we need to support them. But if they're just going to give us some lip service and not going to do anything at all for us, then why should we support them? Ladies and gentlemen, we ain't got no choice now. We have to look out for our vested interests. You can see where America's going. I call it as I see it. So we're going to start from now on, our vested interests. If it's not our vested interests, then we need to not vote for them or not support them. So I think that's very important. So there it is. No excuses. If you didn't know it's election day, now you know it's election day. If you have relatives, cousins, brothers, sisters, if you think they don't know it's election day, call them and say, hey, it's election day. And try to start to prepare ourselves now. Because we got a long way to go, but we're going to set it up. Because everybody is already setting up for us to fail. Keep certain things in mind. That's why I call this program Did You Know? Now, for example, don't be surprised and shocked that in the general election, you start to see ICE, or you start to see National Guard riding around your polls. Why? It's to get the mindset so that you become comfortable with it. All these military that they're putting in these cities now, you know why they're putting them in? Because it's developed the psychological implant in your brain. So later on you say, oh, there's the National Guard riding down the street. It becomes normal. See, people think things out. A lot of you don't want to believe that, but I tell you exactly the way it is. That's why this program is called Did You Know? That's why it's called that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to think about it. Now, the President of the United States of America is settling with the IRS, and he's going to get $1.7 billion. the President of the United States, because he said that the IRS leaked some tax information on him. $1.7 billion taxpayer. Here's my point. What about the little guy that we've been abused? What about the little guy that didn't have the money to go to court to defend themselves? What about the little lady that don't have that kind of power and money behind them to fight for their rights? Do you think Donald Trump is the only one that's ever been abused? I don't think so. Many of you have been abused, but you had no way of fighting back. We've all seen the miscarriage of justice. And because we've seen the miscarriage of justice, we didn't have no outlet. And a lot of you miss a payment to the IRS, or you didn't pay last year, or you didn't pay this year. And what did they do to you? They took your wages. They garnished your wages. That's right, they garnished your wages. You didn't have much anyway, but they abused you. They take your money. And we giving him $1.7 billion because he said, oh, I've been weaponized. A lot of us have been weaponized in many ways. And yet you sit back and you go, oh, some of you can barely get gas. Some of you can barely get food. Some of you can barely afford daycare. And now they're going to take $1.7 billion and give it to him so he can give it away and say that those people that might have done something in January. So if the argument is that those people have been mistreated in January, oh, we know that's not the case. What about a lot of you Americans? So I want you to now look at this personal. See, that's our problem. We don't look at things personal until it actually affects us. So I'm going to put it in a mindset for you to look at it personally, because I think it's very important. You know, the other thing is, think about this. This is called Did You Know? Now, we know that the Supreme Court decided to say, oh, you can't draw voting lines based on race. So what happened? So the Supreme Court ruled, and what did some states do? Some states said, oh, we're going to redraw the lines and make sure that we in majority. Now, remember, this all used to happen every 10 years, and they used to look at the census, but they scrapped all that out. So now you got many states that are redrawing the lines so that they can have a better opportunity. I'm not arguing Democrat, Republican, because they both do it. They both do it. But right is right and wrong is wrong. But I want to give you another did you know, and I want you to think about it. The fact that almost every former Confederate state is moving to completely eliminate Black representation almost immediately after the Supreme Court. Don't take my word for it. Think about it. Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, all those states that were Confederate. Now they want to go back and redraw the lines. And look, Louisiana is even more crazier than that. They already had ballots out. They were already electing things, and they decided that they're going to say, they had already sent ballots out, and they said, you know what, forget it, too bad. So I want you to think about that, and I want you to do your research on that. The other thing is, I want you to start doing some definitions. I want you to start looking up things and see where they are and see how we can better define them. And what do I mean by that? Look at the dictionary. When people say things about color, black, white, devil food cake, angel food cake, think about those things. I want you to think about how films, like films, medical experiments, and things of that nature, how we're defined. And I think now, people of color, period, we're going to have to redefine our narrative in terms of who we are, what we are, and define who we are. I keep telling you, we got to define who we are because everybody defines it sometimes as negative. It's our job to do two things. It's our job to do history, teach our kids history. It's our job to tell everybody where we were and where we came from. Because you can see everybody wants to erase history. Everybody wants to erase like nothing never happened. It's okay to say what happened. The object is for it not to happen again. Why do people bring up the Holocaust? Because they want people to know that so it won't happen again. That's why they bring up the Holocaust. And that's why it's important we need to bring up the things that we have done and the things the way we've been mistreated. And they want to whitewash that, act like it didn't exist. But this is, I got an assignment for you today. And that assignment is we now got to start doing our own teaching of history, developing our own image of who we really are. And the most important part of that is we're going to survive it all because we've survived all the way through now. So if our forefathers survived, then there's no excuse for us to survive because they had it worse off than us. And if you get confused, this is what I want you to do. When those hot summer days, when it's hot out, when it's like 94 degrees, and you're in your house and you're saying, oh, it's so hot. Oh, I can't go out. I want you to go outside, go in the grass, go in the field somewhere for 2 minutes, and just think how your forefathers had to do that day in and day out. And they survived. And how do I know they survived? Because you and I are here today. That's why. Well, I believe in history. I try to bring different things on. So, I keep telling you, if we don't tell our own history, then shame on us. Shame on us. I try to bring people that we know to give you some insight or some vision or some hope. And so then you got Oprah Winfrey. You all should know who she is. You should all know who she is. And I want you to, if you don't know who she is, here's my point. There's so many of you out there are Oprah Winfrey's. That's my point. You're Oprah Winfrey. All right, I have another one. August Wilson. He was a playwright. A lot of you could be playwrights. A lot of you can write some very good, very important things. He had a vision and he chased his vision. And as he chased his vision, at the end, he became very successful. My point is this here. If he can do it, so can you. And I can even go this far to say, I knew August Wilson personally before he was famous. Actually, just like you and I, when he was hustling, when he was writing poetry and plays, and he was glad to get a cup of coffee or whatever, or to be able to go to a bookstore or to a coffee shop or whatever. I knew this man, and he had a dream and vision. So I'm telling you, you can have a dream and vision. The third one, Serena Williams. Half of you want to play football, half of you want to play basketball, very few want to play baseball, tennis. My point is, if you're good at something, work at it. Work at it. Her father put her and her sister through a lot. Good, bad, and different. But they succeeded at the end. But they worked on their craft. This is my point. They worked on their craft. So I'm saying to you, you got to work on your craft. And you grandparents out there and you other parents, start encouraging our young people to be something. Let them know that they can be something. We got to start encouraging our people, people of color across the board. We're in a war now, and it's time for us now to decide that we're going to start to teach our young people who we are, what we're about, where we came from, where we are now, and where we're going to go. We're going forward. We ain't going backwards. Even though people think we're going to go backwards, we're going to go forward. So that's my thing to you today. And I'll leave you with this before I bring my guests on. Just think about it. $1.7 billion, and you can't even buy gas or food, and they take your tax dollars to give it to somebody. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I always tell you, I try to bring different people on to tell different sides of their story or the perception of how they got to where they got to. That's why I call it Did You Know? I'm not interested in having everybody got to be all famous. I'm not interested in everybody that's somebody, because you know why? Because everybody is somebody, and everybody got a story to tell. And so I'm going to always bring different people on to tell their story, to tell their journey. Why? Because I want you to know they're just like you and I. No different than you and I. So people tell us to pull ourselves up out of bootstraps. I don't know what the bootstraps are, but they tell us that. So since they tell us to pull ourselves up out the bootstraps, I'm going to tell you today, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Now you can look at me and say, what bootstrap? You can create your own bootstraps, okay? But my point is, I try to bring people on that's positive. They're doing things. They don't have to be famous. They don't have to have a name on the street. I've said this before. All of us are responsible to go back and look at our communities, whether social organizations, whether it's churches, whether there are so many people that have done so many things for each and every one of us. And they're our heroes. They may not be nobody else's heroes, but they were our heroes, and they looked back for us and they helped us and they pulled us up. And it's our job to pull them up. But I think sometimes we just need to give recognition to just the lady down the street who told you, you know you ain't allowed to do that, you better get your butt on up on that porch. Or the gentleman that say, you know you could be something. Or that person that you at the store there and you really want to buy something, and he looks at you and say, you need an extra 10 cents or whatever, because I know you're going to be somebody someday. Well, let me bring my guest on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have her come on. I'm going to have her tell you who she is.
My name is Dena Jangdhari.
Okay, I want you to tell people who you are.
I am a community servant, advocate, and I'm empowered.
Okay, you gave me 3 things that you said you are community servant. You talked about that.
Yes.
Before we do all this, I want you to tell my audience basically who you are personally, where you came from, where'd you go to school at, and that way we can build how you got to where you got to today.
Yes, and that is a story. So my name is Dena. Maiden name is Pollard. A lot of people know me as Dena Pollard. From Southside Harrisburg. Went to St. Francis, so I was in parochial schools. Graduated from McDevitt. Went on to higher education. A lot was online. My ex-husband served in the Navy, so we traveled a lot. We lived abroad. Italy, Hawaii, Georgia. Georgia was something. I didn't like down south. Ended up coming back home. Got struggled during that time. Now, and I'll tell you what the struggle was. I wanted to be a special ed teacher. And from trying to figure out how I was going to get into the school system down in Georgia, actually, I figured that was the best way for me to do more work, like hands-on with individuals with special needs. Ended up coming back home and was in between jobs. Applied for this job to work as a consultant for the military. And I ended up being the very first subject matter expert for a Department of Defense program called Military One Source. And I did that for 15 years. I grew that program up for 15 years. Single source of information for all branches and components for the military in the state of Pennsylvania. From there, after I left the Military One Source. Well, let me take a step back. I actually, no one knows this, only very few people know this about me, that I actually was going to go into the Navy. And I really wanted to go into the Navy, swore in, had my ship date, had my MOS, which is, military occupation status, and was ready to go. And then I was in a car accident, which kept me from shipping out. So it's just funny how things come back full circle, that I ended up still supporting the military. I love the military. I love the structure of the military. My dad was in the Navy. I come from a Navy family. My aunt decided to go into the Coast Guard, but we still love her. But yeah, it's funny. I married a Navy. I married a sailor, and I got to see parts of the world that I never thought that I would see. And to turn around and have that experience, to be able to provide unlimited resources to our service and family members, even till this day, I want to say I'm very proud of that.
I guess my point is, what drives you? That I want to know the substance of what drives you. I understand you wanted to be in the Navy, and I understand you still did things with the Navy. Mm-hmm. But what has driven you to do all the things that you say you do now? Something had to drive that. What was it that drove you to that?
I think proving people wrong.
Do the what?
I think proving people wrong.
Okay.
That was
okay.
What drove me, because I was always quiet. I was the one that never said too much in a room. I am an observer, and I'm an empath, and I didn't understand any of this growing up. Like, what does that mean? I feel weird. But it drove me, and the more that I did, and the changes that I was making in people's lives, that I felt like I had a purpose. So yeah, I was actually proving people wrong, that I can do this.
I mean, that's why I bring people on like you on my program, because that's why I asked you the question that I've asked you, because you would be surprised. There's people out there that's just like you. They just need to hear they're okay. They're normal. They're going through whatever they're going through.
Yes.
That's why I have these programs. Somebody say, "Oh, I'm like that." So I understand. So that was the driving factor for you.
Yes.
You wanted to prove people wrong, but you knew that you there was more to you.
As I found my voice, I knew that there was more. The problem that I have right now is that I don't take time to even breathe, because I keep going and going and going. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I promised myself this year I was going to be more intentional on taking my time and celebrating all of the triumphs, all of the accolades. But I don't even look at it like that. I look at that we all have a purpose, and we're supposed to be on this trajectory to doing right. Now, I'm not going to go biblical or anything like that, but when you're a servant leader and you're in rooms where you just feel it, you feel that conviction, and you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing, even though that somebody might be looking at you like you are a little going off to the left. But if that's an assignment that I have, genuinely, because I have a genuine heart, I have to do it. It might not look right as I'm doing it. It might not even sound right as I'm going about it. But at the end, when it's all said and done, I feel good about it, and I'm on to the next.
What do you mean by that? I mean, let's talk about that. I'll use the word spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
And So my question is, when I bring up the word spiritual guidance, what do you mean when you say that? Because you said it,
Mhm.
and most people say it. I'm here for a purpose. I want to out. I want to live this purpose, but I know that my life has value.
When as I was growing up, that would be in certain situations where it would be the oddest things. For instance, when my uncle got sick, and I would go and visit him because these people, my elders, would be home and they would transition at home. But I'm watching these people coming in. I didn't know anything about hospice. Nobody tells you these things as you're growing up. When you're growing up, you see your family and you're around them and you're thinking you're going to be there with them forever. So I'm seeing these people coming in and taking care of my loved ones. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that. But I didn't know what that was. And I'm like, this is odd. This is really weird. This is creepy. You want to help sick people that are on the brink of transitioning? You want to help them with that? I do. And that's when I knew I was here on purpose. I tried to run away from that so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was well, at one time I would say I was volunteering for Grain Hospice. And that was just something that I could just do, like go and visit, give the family respite. And I got an assignment. I woke up it was on a Tuesday. I'll never forget it. I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like somebody needs me. I used to take off work to go take care of people. All of I don't want to call them friends, but they were all older people, right? So this time I go online and there's a letter, an email, I should say. There was an email from the lady that I volunteered through, and the young man, like early 20s, with colon cancer. Back then, because it's been some years, that was unheard of, but it's not now. It's common now for young people to get colon cancer. And I immediately shut it. I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing this. I ended up volunteering. And I was with that young man for 2 weeks. They gave him 2 weeks, and I was with him for 2 weeks. On a Thursday, I met him. And I was like, okay, this is something that I'm supposed to do. So you're going to add hospice caretaking it to my repertoire, I guess. And I love it. And the work that I have done, I always know when I'm going to be on assignment. I always know when it's time. I have helped family members transition. I have helped strangers transition. And that is a little did you know about Dena Pollard or Dena Jangdhari. A lot of people don't know that about me.
Well, I'm glad that you were doing it. There's a lot of people out there that does the kind of thing that you do. And it's important because we need people to do what you do.
Yes.
We need people to deal with people in many situations. And so I'm glad that you felt that that was part of your calling.
It's a part of my journey.
Part of your journey.
Yes.
Okay, part of your journey. So what else was a part of your journey? That's why you say, is that why you say that you was a community servant? Because you said you an advocate. So let's talk about the servant, then we're going to the advocate. Let's go to others.
Okay, so the journey continues.
Yes.
Left the military one source, left that as a consultant. Like I said, grew her up for 15 years. And it was a release. That was really a release. When you're responsible for thousands of people within this dense state, Pennsylvania is huge, and I was by myself. Things started changing when Trump got into office. I was taking some notes when you were talking. And the one thing that I'd like to say, and I really had to think about this, I am a fighter. I'm going to fight for those that are wrongly accused. I'm going to fight for those that even admit when they're wrong, but I'm going to be in your corner. I show up in spaces. I might sit in the corner, but I'm there, and you can feel my presence. That was one of the things that I learned with Military One Source, because when you're working in inclusive classrooms with individuals like, severe to profound, like autism or special needs, you almost become mute. You get used to those small confined spaces, and you conform to their world, if I can say that. And I pray that I'm not offending anybody, but that's just how I felt. So I didn't know that I had the power in me. I didn't know that I had a voice, because during those times when I was working in those spaces, these are nonverbal children, and I still wanted to be a special ed teacher. So it was like, I don't really know how to communicate outside of that. I was in a shell. So then when I started with Military One Source, I had to come out of my shell. I really had to find my voice. And that's how I became a public speaker, because I'm standing before thousands of service members. This started in 2008, 2009. That's when Pennsylvania was coming up for a very large deployment. And that's when I was just like pushed out there, because when I started with Military One Source, I didn't have any idea. I just knew that this was something that I needed when my husband served in the military. We were overseas. So I found my voice. And through that work, standing before, like I said, thousands of people. I mean, the rooms would be packed, and I'm doing extensive traveling throughout the state and building programs. And because managing this program allowed me a lot of opportunity to utilize my skill sets and the degrees that I've attained, and education and global training and development, and making those connections still from overseas. I still have a lot of friends that are serving in the military that are overseas or have retired, and I still have those connections, and I'm still connected to the military. Then I was just like, okay, I found my voice. I know I'm growing into this person that I like, and I know who I am, because I had to be strong in those spaces, because I'm standing in front of high ranking officers, a lot of them men, a lot of them white men. So when I would walk in there, they didn't know it was me walking in. Being my true authentic self, with the braids or my natural hair, it was different for them. So fighting back was one thing that I had to do. And then after I left that, I went into nonprofit sector and managing the civic club, which was very interesting space to be in, because that was a segregated space for God knows how long. And then working with the very first Black president, Katrina Baltimore. I've always wanted to know what that house looked like on the inside. Anybody that's from Harrisburg would know that we weren't even allowed to walk on the sidewalk when we would be downtown, maybe during Capona. And they didn't let Black people in. And I learned that there was a Black president. So I worked there for 2 years. And now I am with the city of Harrisburg. But to talk about the advocacy work, to go in from, community servant or servant leadership, advocacy work, I am a volunteer through the Pennsylvania Prison Society. And how I got that was my son got in trouble. And I still needed to learn how to be a parent to him. Being divorced, my ex-husband is not in the area, and my son and I, it's just me and my son. And I needed to know how I could still be a mother. And then I ended up becoming a mother to so many that are incarcerated.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I had someone on last couple of weeks ago talking about prison, talking about the connections from families, talking about some that's incarcerated, some still have linkage to their family, and some don't have no linkage to their family, and also talking about those that come out. So why do you feel What made you? I understand why you did it because of your son, but
Mhm.
what do you see with the this whole prison society thing, and why it's important, and why even people should join it, participate, or
Mhm.
try to understand it?
I believe that we're so used to the retribution aspect instead of the rehabilitation. Once they got rid of the state hospitals, I believe that these jails and the prison systems is just a home or a house for those that have mental illness. I don't believe that anybody wakes up in their right frame of mind in the morning and says, you know what, I think I'm going to go commit a crime. Things happen, and we've all been there where we are just 1 second away from snapping. To have individuals, and I'm thinking of one right now, he is like, I did it and I deserve to be here, but they're never going to take me, like me, my mind. I'm physically here, but my mind is not here. So that's why I do it. You have family members that don't have the means to communicate. The biggest scam, I believe, in the prison system is having to pay to contact your loved ones. I think that's the biggest scam. The money, I know what I did and needed to do to keep in contact with my son when he was incarcerated. I can't imagine someone that doesn't have a good paying job and have to struggle to have a 15-minute conversation. And then they don't make it easy because there's always an issue with the connection. So the advocacy work is that it's holding them accountable. Now remember when I learned about the prison board meetings at DCP in my very first day, because my son was there and he didn't have no deodorant. He didn't have access to anything. They were supposed to give them those little indigent packages and they didn't give my son anything. So when I went in there and I just needed to I needed to see who was in the room and I needed a name to each person that was in the room so I can hold them accountable if anything ever happened to my son. And I told him that. And I still show up. And my son is out, thriving. I have a beautiful, soon to be 4 year old granddaughter. And I still show up. I still take my phone calls. I'm still working to help those that can't help themselves. I enlighten them. I try my best to be as normal with them, not forgetting their current situation. I never call them the inmate word or felon or those names that words matter. So when I'm at DCP, I'm like they're temporary housed here, but a lot of them aren't because the system is so messed up that they are there when they shouldn't be there no longer than maybe a year, if that. And I've helped individuals that have been there for years. There's a veteran that is there and he's 70 plus years old. My job is not to care really about what you did. You're a human. The food is terrible. I'm a dog owner and I don't even feed my dog anything less than what I would need. So, and that's just because they call me bougie, but it's okay. But they're human. They are human. And I go in with that intent because I don't want to know what they did. But the moment that I know what you did, then that's when the judgment comes in. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. I'm here to do what I can do for you. I'm here to do what I can do for your family. And then when that assignment is up, then I'm on to the next. But I see a lot of young men that I have helped and young ladies that I have helped along the way, and they thank me. And I don't remember a lot of them. I'm not supposed to. The moment that you're in that space, I believe that you make it about yourself. But I wish them well, and I'm just on to the next. I've learned that over time, over my long years, that it's to be humble and in who you are and learn how to embrace that goes a long way. And I want to thank my mom and dad for that, and my ancestors, because had it not been for my upbringing, I don't know.
I think it's important that what you shared with us in terms of working with the prison society.
Mhm.
And I think you said something earlier. Sometimes we get confused because we really should be talking about rehabilitation.
Mhm.
We need to give people who come out hope,
Yes.
vision, and dreams. I mean, I'm very involved in the federal program in terms of mentoring people that are coming out of prison, and it's been very interesting for me because I've dealt with people that's been in prison for 20 years,
Yes.
and they've come out now, and you assume that they know how to use the phone, even though I'm out and I have sometimes have difficulty in using the phone and how to do things. But I just think that we as a people and as a society that we have to learn to be compassionate.
Mhm.
I think that we need to get involved. Uh, I've always said this, and people don't like what I say sometimes. That you know, that's why it's important. A lot of us should be entrepreneurs so that we can hire some of these people to give them another chance.
Yes.
You got to give people hope. I mean, some people make mistakes for many reasons, and I don't try to judge why they did what they did because I wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
That's why I wouldn't, but I can't say why somebody else would not do whatever they did. And so I think I want to commend you on the fact that you, with prison society, and I hear these stories about, especially county jails all over, not just Dauphin County.
Mhm.
I hear it about Allegheny County.
Yes.
Excuse me, I hear it about Philadelphia. So I hear stories all over. I've even had people in the federal system that I'm mentoring, and they'll say to me, if I got to come back and I got to go to a county jail, they'll tell you where they want to go and where they don't want to go. Now, who wants to be locked up? But they're saying, if I got to be locked up, I want to go to Cumberland County.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Dauphin County.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you said, and I want you to emphasize a little bit, it's important for people to support people that's inside,
Yes.
because if they don't have an advocate out there fighting for them or looking for them, because everybody is not criminals.
Right.
One of the things that is always amazed me, and I believe everybody's responsible. If you have a child, I think you're responsible for child support. I think if you have a kid, you should be responsible. I can't justify why you're not do your responsibility. But there's some in there, they go to jail, they lose their job, they lose everything, and I want to know how they're going to pay the fine and the child support.
Yes.
The other issue I have is on bail. Bail is very interesting to me because you get charged with something and you may not even be guilty. You haven't even had a hearing, a trial yet.
Yep.
And you're on bail, and they say bail say $5,000, but if you have a zero, $5,000 is a lot of money, so you can't get out at all. So you sit in there until your hearing. And once you end up having everything, they say, oh, you're not guilty, well, you can go. But then there's those people that can pay for the bail. They can go home. Okay? That's one of my biggest issues with Pennsylvania, because bail, cash bail, that's what we call it, cash bail. And if you're a bail bondsman, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a cash cow. Let me say it, it's a cash cow. And that's what it is. And a lot of you don't want to take responsibility to say that's what it is. I know bail bondsmen. They make a lot of money. You know, a lot of people can't put their houses up. People can't put that up. People can't put that up. You know, I had a story with a federal judge one day, and we were just talking about putting people out on bail or whatever, or letting them on their own recognizance when you ain't got to put up no cash. Okay? Let y'all say in your word you're going to come to court when you're supposed to. And the issue became, a person saying, especially people of color, oh, I stay at my aunt's this week, I stay at my grandmom's this week, and I stay here this week. Well, in some eyes, that is not the proper way of staying. They want to know, do you have a permanent place to stay? Some people don't have a permanent place, but you got to understand their culture. You got to understand how the family network works. This one here, this one here, this one here. And when I shared that with the judge said, never thought about it, because they never thought about it because that was not normal. But it gave them a perspective. That's why you people like you who get into prison systems and whatever, you give people a different view of what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you've never been there, they have no way of knowing that. So I want to commend you on that. But at the same time as commend you on that, ladies and gentlemen out there, I would like some of you to think about getting involved in something. Doesn't have to be prison reform. It could be in your school. It could be in your neighborhood. We got to get involved, and we can't wait for people to get involved for us. We need to do it. And that's what the problem is in our community today. We don't want to get involved. But you know what? We don't want to get involved. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're involved anyway. Good, bad, or indifferent. We're connected. We're connected. No matter if it's good or bad, we're connected. There's people who live in neighborhoods, they can't move. They're there. They're there. They live there. And so what we need to do is start to take responsibility of our own plight.
Yes.
Okay, you got one more. So tell us about the other one.
Empowerment.
Yep, empowerment.
A few years ago, during COVID, I was in a conversation with a friend of mine, and she and I were talking, and I was like, these kids, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know, they have no direction. They just need to be empowered and be themselves. And you know, when you say certain things, if you can feel it, like if it's something you're supposed to do with it. I sat on that. I wrote it down. I remember writing it down. And I sat on that for about a year until I was working with someone. Someone heard about me and the work that I was doing in the community. I was on a phone call with this gentleman, and this other gentleman heard my voice. And he was like, wait, whoa, I need to know who that is. And I was like, do you have me on speaker? It's like, hey, you didn't even tell me I was on speaker. And this gentleman had a internet radio show, and he asked me what I consider a show. So I did that for a year. I had my own show called Be Empowered, Be Yourself. We all wake up empowered. And my show, it was just something else that I said I wanted to do, Mr. Utley. So I like being on the other side of this. It really was just talking about who you are as an individual, sharing what you do, being happy in it, and showing the world that there are people out there that are still kind, and not having to work so hard and defining that empowerment. Like we wake up that way, or at least we should think about how we wake up, how we want to start our day, our contributions to that. I like manifestations. I manifest. And I've learned this over the years. So that's another little tidbit about me.
When you say empowerment, and this is why I'm going to hop on empowerment, because I believe everybody can be empowered. I believe that everybody brings something to the table.
Yes.
I believe everybody. It's just a matter of figuring out. Everybody has value in life. And I believe that. Sometimes we're told we're that, and sometimes we are told that we're not much of anything. But I believe all of us are somebody. And so that's why I think it's always encouraging to have people, especially I've been on this thing about having us as older people tell young people they are somebody.
Yes.
And I also encouraging tell young people to say good morning, hello to something to an older person. Because there's a lot of older people out there that don't have anybody and they don't have no self value in terms of who they are because they think everybody forgot them. And then I got the other side, excuse me, where I got parents, friends, or whoever telling that, or relatives telling that young person they ain't nothing.
Yeah.
And they ain't gonna be nothing. And after a while you keep hearing for that, you get to believe it maybe you're not nothing.
That's right.
And so therefore it's very important to have self-worth. So I want you to explain to my audience why it's so important to be empowered, but empower themselves.
Because it's sharing who you are. It's important to learn. You ever remember? I don't know if you've ever heard this, but like, you're going to learn today, or I'm going to learn you something. I remember my grandmom used to say that. And as I'm walking through this thing we call life, I'm a huge Prince fan.
Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
As we walk through this thing called life, empowerment and your value is something that no one can take from you. So when I'm sitting across from people and when I mentor young ladies, I definitely encourage them to find there's something that is good in you. There's something that you want to share, a part of you, whether it's a smile, whether it's how you do say good morning. You don't know what that contribution is going to do for somebody else and how that's going to kind of peel the layer. I hope I'm answering this question.
No, I want you to say, listen, this program, I'm concerned. I want people to say what you feel. I want you to say what you believe. I want you to articulate it the way that you feel comfortable in saying it. So please say it that way, and tell you why I want you to say it your way.
Okay.
Because there are people out there just like you.
Yeah. So for me, my empowerment really was coming from a place where I never felt valued. God, Mr. Utley,
Go ahead. That's good.
let me talking.
I want you to talk that
it's
because
really,
that's we all people.
I never felt valued.
Okay.
And once I learned my affirmations, once I really learned about meditation and manifestation, I grew into the woman that people see today. I try my best to be unbothered by things, but I'm still human. And it's funny because, when a lot of people see you alone, they feel like you're this loner, you're not doing too much to contribute. The noise that I make is positive noise. And in that, that's what brings me the empowerment. Because at the end of the day, if I allow myself to assess my day, which is very few in between, and I'm going to learn how to really start decompressing. There's a lot that I do in this city. There's a lot that I do for people that no one would even look at them. No one knows that I have a lot of friends that are unhoused, and they look for me and I feed them. That's not me boasting. That's just who I am. So, when you're out here, when you're out here and you're doing good, just be empowered in it, live in it, enjoy the space that you're in, be good in it, be kind in it.
That's good what you said, but like you just said a couple seconds ago, everyone has value.
Yes.
Like you said, some people have hard times. They made situations. They could be homeless. They could be whatever. But everybody has value. And it's important for us to look at every human being with value. Now, program is going very fast, so we got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to tell my audience what you feel that you want them to hear and know.
I want them to show up. Show up for yourself and show up for the things that matter to you. That's the only way that things can change. I never even put on there too about being a change agent. You got to walk in your purpose and you got to be purposeful. And if you don't know what that is, just start showing up in places that you never thought that you would be in. I never thought that I would be in the prison system. And a lot of times when I walk through there, they're like, oh, she's an attorney. She's a, no, I'm here to make sure that you're good. I'm here to make sure that they're taking care of you because I know who the people are in the room. Show up. Stop just showing up at these town hall meetings and it's just that one town hall meeting and then nobody ever sees you again because that's where the noise is being made at the time. Be out there in your community. Start making noise and show up for yourself. Go out there and vote today because I did and it matters. I vote and I do all of these things, not just for myself, but for my family, but mainly for my granddaughter because she's never going to have the opportunities that I had growing up as a young lady and into the woman that I am today. So even if it's not for yourself, make it for somebody that you do love and care about.
I think what you just said, I'm going to leave it at that. I think I'm going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. As I've said before, this program is Did You Know? And I want to bring different people on, different perspectives, how they see things. But guess what? If one thing that she said today ticked the button in you, then we have done a good job. Thank you for tuning in to Did You Know? And I will see you soon. Don't forget, get out to vote.
Get out to vote.
Thank you for watching Did You Know with Richard Utley. Please mark your calendar and join us every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Did you know? If you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you have an interesting topic or individual that you would like to see us discuss during future broadcasts, you can reach out to us on Facebook at Richard Utley. Until next time, have a nice day, and we will see you again for another Did You Know? And